Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. I know in last week's episode we said we would be covering a new case while monitoring any new updates in the Idaho case, but 2 days ago, unexpectedly, the search warrant was released and we got some more information. So today we're going to go over that, but we're also going to drop another episode in the next few days, and in that episode it will be a whole different case that we go over, like we said. So here we go. So on January 18th, we all got to see the search warrant for Bryan Kohberger's apartment in Washington. And in the documents, it stated all of the things that they took from his apartment. And Lexi actually has the actual list of the search warrant and of the things that they took from the apartment. Mm-hmm. So she's going to read it to you.
Yeah, so I pulled up the official document, and these are the things that were listed that were taken from his apartment. So they took 1 nitrate-type black glove, 1 Walmart receipt with 1 Dickies tag, 2 Marshall's receipts, dust container from Bissell Power Force vacuum, 8 possible hair strands, 1 Fire TV stick with cord and plug, 1 possible animal hair strand, 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair, another possible hair, and then 1 possible hair strand, 1 computer tower, 1 collection of dark red spot, in parentheses, it says collected without testing, 2 cuttings from uncased pillow of reddish brown stain, in parentheses, larger stain tested, and then the last one was 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains, in parentheses, 1 tested. So I just think that some of these things are really interesting for a couple different reasons. I feel like he could possibly talk his way out of a few of them. I mean, the hair, for example, he could easily say, he was in the residence or he was with the girls or even that the girls had been to his apartment and that's why the hair was there. But I am super eager to find out if the stains that they described on both the pillow and the mattress cover are blood, because they didn't specify it. They just said reddish brown stains. And I feel like if it is blood and if it's the girl's blood and even Ethan's blood too, that's hard to talk your way out of. How are you going to talk your way out of that? Yeah, I feel like
that would be something that he would not be able to talk his way out of.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think they said they found a Dickies tag on a Walmart receipt, and if he doesn't say he ditched the clothes after, burned them, buried them, whatever, and police, because it didn't say that police took clothes from the residence. Mm-hmm. So if they could easily be well, where is this? You just bought this, where are these clothing items? And that, I mean, he could give excuses, but it doesn't make him look good,
Right. And I was also thinking about the animal hair. Mm-hmm. Now I know that Kaylee had a dog named Murphy that was in the home at the time of the murders. I'm hoping that it's his animal hair.
Me too.
I mean, wouldn't that be awesome if the dog was the one who got him?
No, right. Seriously, people were saying that all online. I knew Murphy was going to be the one to get this guy.
Right.
That would be awesome.
But I feel like it could also just be an animal hair that he brought back. He could have gone anywhere and had an animal hair
I mean, you can,
on him. Or
I feel like you don't even have to be by an animal. Sometimes animal hair is everywhere, just regular hair is everywhere.
Yeah, or from somebody else that lived at the apartment before him, or someone else in the apartment. It could have transferred that way.
Right, but I am really hoping it is Murphy's.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I also want to mention the mattress cover. Mm-hmm. They said that they took at the top and the bottom of the mattress cover, there was multiple blood stains. Yeah. And that makes me wonder. I feel like it wouldn't have come from his bed, because why would he continue to sleep on a mattress cover with multiple blood stains?
No, yeah.
It makes me wonder if he used a mattress cover in his car, over his seat. So when he got back in, that protected his seat and all that from
that makes
all the
so
blood.
Much sense, because it's easy to put on and it's easy to take off. But exactly. I'm just wondering, why didn't you ditch it?
That's what I'm wondering. Why don't you burn that?
So long. You had weeks on end to get rid of this stuff, and why is that still in your apartment?
Yeah, that's super confusing to me too.
And I think also with it says 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow of reddish brown stain. That's interesting. Whose pillow is it? I immediately wondered if it was either a pillow he brought with and used on the girls, or if it was one of their pillows and he took the case off so that they couldn't say, oh, well, that's the same, bed set as one of the victims has. Mm-hmm. But again, like, why wouldn't you ditch that? I wondered if he used the pillow to maybe, like, muffle the screams or stuff like that. You know, that was never said, but just definitely interesting. Like, I couldn't imagine you laying down on your pillow and then you wake up in the morning and if you see blood on it, why would you leave it there? You know,
why
like,
would you even take a chance? He probably did not even think he was going to get caught.
That's true.
So he was probably not concerned about it.
Yeah, or these things were, like, trophies to him, and he wanted to keep them because it was like, well, I don't have, you know, I had to get rid of the knife, or I, you know, something like that, and he was like, I need to keep something, and those were the things he kept.
Yep. So besides his apartment being searched, we also know that his office at WSU, where he was an assistant teacher, was also searched. And we're assuming that his parents' house in Pennsylvania was searched as well.
Yeah,
but,
as well as the car, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they did not release anything on that yet. So we haven't heard what they found or what they didn't find in there.
And I'm wondering if they're going to release that because that's like a whole nother jurisdiction with that house being in Pennsylvania. So I'm wondering if they're going to do the same thing and release the search warrant or if they're just going to stay quiet for now.
Yeah, and I feel like all these things with this case, like there was no lead up. Like you didn't expect it at all. Like everything that they've done has just been like out of nowhere.
So spur of the moment. Like no, they said that this was going to possibly be released in March, and we even, Ash, me and you even thought maybe they weren't going to release it because they said the March date before they had determined that his trial wasn't going to be till June. So we thought, oh, well, they're going to go back and be like well,
they're going to extend it.
Yeah, we got to wait till the trial comes. And then all of a sudden on January 18th, it just all of a sudden it comes up, and we couldn't believe it because it was just no lead up to that at all.
Right. So I feel like anything could happen at any moment.
Yeah, so another new piece of information we also got is that Bryan was allegedly following 3 of the 4 victims, all of the girls, on Instagram before this whole thing took place. His account now has since been removed, so we couldn't check for ourselves, but somebody screenshotted the account under following, or under if you go to the girls' accounts and go under who's following them, they found his account and took a screenshot of that, and that person said that they did that right when his name came out, right when it hit, news and stuff like that, and everybody knew of him, so I guess it was still up there, but like I said, now it's not up there anymore. And I feel like that adds just a whole other level of creepy. But it also made me think if, because the whole world is technology now and they're young, if he did this as a countermeasure because he wanted to say, hey, I'm friends with them, or I know them, or we've talked before, yes, I follow them on Instagram.
That doesn't prove anything.
Right, yeah, he can easily just say, yeah, I follow them on Instagram, we're mutual friends, or, we're acquaintances, we know each other. So I just wonder if he did that as a way to, kind of outsmart them or go around it.
So he followed them on Instagram, three of them, all 3 girls.
Yes.
But none of them followed him back.
Right.
And he even, I think I read that he slid into their DMs, or at least one of their DMs.
Yes. They didn't release who it was, but I guess one of them. And I think it said that they ignored him multiple times.
And he tried a couple times, hey, how you doing? Something to that effect. And the girl, whoever it was, didn't reply back.
Yeah, and
so
I wonder...
that could have angered him.
Oh, for sure. And I think that if he is, super... I wonder if he's, a super confident guy, if he thinks that he has charm and, he can get who he wants. Continuing to push and continuing to, reach out to them and DM them when they're not answering, that's ballsy. They're not answering for a reason. Give it up now. So I'm interested to, read those if they ever come out. Was it, just, hey, how are you? Or did he get enraged? Do you see it in the messages,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that was probably a reason he chose them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's my opinion. I feel like the type of person he seems to be, and I've heard other things where, about incel and all of that, was this a crime of incel? I feel like he is getting rejected by all these, pretty type of girls.
Yes.
And this might have just been the last straw for him. Here he is going out trying to say hi to this, one of the girls, and they're all very pretty. And here once again, he's getting rejected. And that could have ticked him off, and that could have been how he chose, how he chose the victim.
I always wonder if he did that survey on Reddit and he asked all these weird questions in the moment, how did you feel? And just things about,
before you committed a crime.
Yeah. So I wonder if that wasn't doing it for him. And he felt like he needed to be the smartest guy in the room. He's like, I need to do this so that I can feel this way. and I know, like, all the answers as to why people do this. And going back to the DMs, these people just didn't answer them, so that enraged him, and he was like, perfect, these are my people.
Yeah. How crazy. If he, like, really did this just for research purposes, like, that is so messed up.
Yeah. Another thing that has come out in the recent days, a former employee at Mad Greek, which is the restaurant that Maddie and Xana worked at, said that Bryan came in at least twice before the murders.
And Mad Greek is known for, like, vegan options, and we all know now that Bryan was a very strict vegan, so, I mean, that's somewhere he would definitely go. I don't know if he went there for the girls or if he went there specifically because it was vegan or had vegan options.
Super interesting, but very creepy to think about that, like, what if he was going there because the two girls were there and he was like, okay, this is my opportunity to watch them, or, you know, see what time they get off, see what time they come in. Super weird.
Or is that where he first encountered the girls?
Right.
Like, did he go there just for the vegan food and then he saw Maddie and Xana and was like, oh, they're really pretty, and that's how he kind of picked
That's actually a really good point, because it's such a small town, so I can't imagine that there's a ton of vegan restaurant options. So that's actually a really good point, because I'm sure this was one of the only, you know, options for him. But they even said that nothing seemed suspicious, I guess. Then they just noted that he was, like, a very strict vegan, as we already know. But nothing seemed suspicious, which is interesting, but I also think, like, you don't want to come across as you're watching somebody, you know, if you're there for those intentions, you want to come across as normal as possible.
Right.
And then on that topic, an investigator who's familiar with the case said that law enforcement has actually already collected the surveillance video. They're aware of the visits, and they talked to the employees and the owners already as well. So, yeah.
That is so scary and, like, chilling to think about, that he was there and watching them probably, and they had, I'm sure, no idea. I wonder if he ever attempted to talk to them.
Yeah, no, I wonder too. And I also wonder if he ever attempted to follow them home.
That may be how he found out where they lived. If he, you know, decided to wait for the girls to leave the restaurant after their shift and, you know, followed them from there.
Yeah.
That's definitely a possibility.
And as we all already know, Kaylee, she did not work at Mad Greek, but she did mention that she felt like somebody was following her. She felt like she had a stalker. And not super early on, but a couple weeks before they got Bryan, they did say that they kind of came to a conclusion about maybe what she was talking about. They said there was two, you know, men that had appeared possibly to be following her, and that's what they chalked the stalker thing up to be. But I don't know if anybody listening has watched the ABC 2020 special that came out, but Steve Goncalves, which is Kaylee's dad, said that Kaylee told him one time that she thought someone was following her at a store. So I think, is it possible that law enforcement, you know, saw the surveillance footage of these two men following her and said, oh, that's what she's talking about. Like, this is what she referred to as her stalker situation. But maybe that wasn't. You know, women get followed a lot. And Kaylee was a very pretty girl. So I'm sure there was a couple instances at least where she felt she was followed, or where men tried to approach her and talk to her. But maybe she really did feel she was being stalked, and these two men were not what she was talking about.
Yeah, she could have totally sensed it.
Yes.
And then we're thinking, okay, these were the guys, but really that might have not been who was watching her or stalking her.
Right.
She might have sent somebody else.
Right. And because I feel like as a woman, like, you've been in situations, most women have been in situations where they do feel like they're being watched or followed. And she described it as a stalking situation, which to me kind of seems like she thought on multiple occasions somebody was near her or watching her or just following her. So I feel like maybe she wasn't talking about those two guys that one day. I really do feel like she felt like somebody was following her. And we see that she told her dad, you know, someone's following me at the store. So I think it's just really scary.
It's
and
definitely
sad.
possible. But I mean, she sensed it this whole time, and if it was Bryan who she was sensing, that's really sad.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I really wonder if all the girls were his target and Ethan wasn't meant to be a part of it, or, you know, he was just wrong place, wrong time. But then again, going back to the affidavit where Ethan's part is redacted and his autopsy was later completed later than the girls, and his autopsy was also worded a little bit differently. So I'm wondering if Bryan saw himself as like an alpha male or was jealous that Ethan had, you know, everything he wanted. and his rage was also taken out on Ethan, or was Ethan a part of his plan all along too? But those are obviously just things that we don't know.
My opinion has kind of been like, Ethan didn't live there and he wasn't supposed to be there. I feel like he was killed because he was collateral damage.
Yes.
I feel like the girls were the target, or one of them was the target, and Ethan was just kind of there and, possibly could interfere. So he got rid of him too.
Yes, and I agree, because sometimes I go back and forth with it, but I also just think, like, if you're thinking logically, going into a home with the intention of killing 4 people, one of them being like a 6-foot male, that's a very, very risky thing to do.
Yes.
So I don't know. I feel like just going in there with a knife, that's a really risky thing to do.
Yeah, which is why I'm leaning towards more he wasn't one of the intended victims. But I mean, like you said, you made a good point. Ethan had, Xana was Ethan's girlfriend, and here he is with these beautiful girls.
Yeah.
And if, jealousy was the reason that Bryan did this, he could have taken it out on Ethan. Like, you have everything I want.
Right.
So,
and that, I feel like that also doesn't even mean that Ethan was part of it the whole time, but even if he went in and got his, intended targets, and then he saw Ethan, he was like, you know what? You have everything I want. Like, I'm taking my last
like
bit
a
of
spur
rage
of the
on
moment.
you.
Yeah.
It could have still been spur of the moment, but I do feel like the reason that some of the affidavit was redacted at Ethan's part is because his injuries are a little bit more extensive than maybe 1 or 2 of the girls. But it doesn't necessarily mean he was part of the plan all along. I still think it was really, like, he didn't plan for Ethan to be there, but when he saw Ethan, something happened. Either, Ethan saw him, or, there was no way out, or he was like, you have everything I want. I'm mad.
Yeah. I really hope we eventually learn what the true motive was, especially for the family's sakes, because if that were my family, I would need to know.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It would just kill me not knowing. But okay, well, that's pretty much all the new information that we have. As always, we'll continue to keep you updated as new information comes out. As I said before, stay tuned for another true crime case coming up later this week. But until then, stay safe and have a great weekend.